we're one of the few companies, we pay 100% of our employees' medical insurance, and their spouses and their children.
Oh my goodness.
And it doesn't cost them a dime.
If you just fell over and out of your chair, I apologize, because there's not many who do that.
It's a real responsibility for us to identify who those leaders of the future are.
Whether they see it or not.
Right.
Because we see it in them.
When does it become not okay that we are in the bottom 10% in education? When does it become not okay that we have 700 kids in our school districts in Northern Kentucky who really don't have a permanent home? Let's place good people in better systems, and I think we'll get better outcomes.
Welcome to the Unconventional Leadership Podcast, where we help you unlock your potential as a leader. Hey, can I ask you a favor? Can you please hit subscribe or follow on any platform that you're listening or watching this episode? Our goal is to connect with you, to bring additional value to you, to bring additional topics to you, and we can do that more effectively if you hit subscribe or follow. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining this week's episode of the Unconventional Leadership Podcast. I have the distinct pleasure to be bringing a friend, a mentor, and an incredible leader to you today by the name of Bob Heil. Bob, thank you for joining me today.
Mike, it's my pleasure. It's good to catch up with you.
So I've had the opportunity the last, 20, 24 years, I feel like, most of my career, getting a chance to know you and see you in all of these leadership seats around our community. And I just first and foremost will kick off with a big thank you for everything you've done and everything you're about to do with your continued leadership and your family's legacy. So thank you.
It's my pleasure. It's what I live for, serve the community.
That's right. That's right. So Bob, I have a question. When did you, what is it about your upbringing, your life experiences, your time in high school, your first job, or meeting your lovely bride that got you into the service of the community, not just running and growing business? Because you've done that as well.
Yeah. That's easy because I've told this story many, many times. First of all, I have to credit my parents for the work ethic that they taught us. I'm one of 13 children. We grew up poor in South Newport, and my dad worked 2 jobs his entire life to support his family. So I think if you talk to any of my siblings, they would say that the greatest gift that our parents, both of them, gave us was our work ethic. But a lot of people would find this surprising, but in high school, I was a lot more shy than you could imagine. Seriously.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't have the courage to even ask a woman or a girl out on a date till I was going into my senior year of high school. That's how shy I was.
Okay.
But I had an inflection point when I was at University of Kentucky, and this was like 1984. And the university was going through some really draconian budget cuts because of a recession. And someone had this harebrained idea that, well, let's take an asset that we have and monetize it. And that asset was Robinson Forest. And Robinson Forest was deeded to the university like in 1910 by E.O. Robinson, who was in the logging industry in Eastern Kentucky. And he said, you know what, I've got this one stretch of virgin forest, and I want to bequeath it to the university as a research facility. And so pristine watershed, pristine forest, great research laboratory that you can't build this, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So my argument was, why don't you sell off a building rather than selling off a forest? Because you can always replace a building, right? Anyway, I felt like this was such an injustice and such just a poor idea, a poor decision. And I was able to link up with some other people that felt the same way. And we formed a student organization, catchy name here, Students to Save Robinson Forest. To this day, it is the largest student organization that's ever existed on the University of Kentucky campus.
Really? Yeah,
we had several thousand people who put up $25 to be a member of this group. And we were successful, mainly because we had the foresight to bring in Wendell Berry, the famous author who he's credited with saving Red River Gorge when they were going to dam that. Wow. And so we thought, well, this is great. Let's just bring him in. And him being a former professor at University of Kentucky didn't hurt either. Right. But we brought him in, and we won the fight. And after that, I guess that experience just taught me that, wow, if we hadn't done that, who would have?
Yeah.
And we could be sitting here now with, basically a mountaintop mine instead of a beautiful forest, right?
Wow. Is it still?
It is.
Still
it's
a research facility?
Yeah, it is. I actually won the lottery and had an elk hunting tag 2 years ago in Eastern Kentucky, and drove right past it and actually stopped and took a look. And it gave me a lot of gratification to see it's still in existence.
Yeah. So if you wouldn't have had that, this is an injustice and we should do this, and who else is passionate about what I'm doing, and how do we get them together and build a plan, and who do we need to talk to, and who are the key influencers and decision makers, and all through that process, that was your first foray into civic leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the kernel of all of my engagement.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, you went on to and still lead a very successful engineering organization. Walk me through a little bit of that origin.
Yeah. So Joe Kors and I were high school friends. We were college roommates. First day that we showed up on UK's campus, we sat on the front porch with another friend and said, how cool would it be if someday we owned our own engineering company?
Wow. That's awesome.
After graduation, Joe went to work for our firm, at the time. And I moved to Columbus, Ohio. And 2 years later, we were sitting in a log cabin in Indiana on a little weekend getaway with our wives, because we still were very close friends. And when I discovered that their firm needed some engineers. And so I joined our firm like a week later, and knowing that the founding partners were someday retire, which they did. And so roughly around 1997 or so was when we really took ownership of the firm.
Okay.
And, it was 30 people at the time.
Wow.
Actually, it was 17 people when we bought it.
Okay.
When we moved in 2003, we were up to 30. It was 17 people. Now we're at 130
that's
people.
incredible.
So, it's been a great ride. We were we had a lot of vision. About 15 years ago, we created a succession plan, which allowed Joe Kors, Robert Lon, and myself to divest over a period of years so that we didn't encumber the company.
Okay.
And so my triggering event was my 64th birthday back in 2024.
Okay.
So I divested at that time to the younger partners, and I stepped down as CEO. I still work for the company at a full-time basis. I'm long title, Executive Director for Strategic Relationships and Community Engagement.
Okay.
Because to a large part,
Very
I'm still
fitting.
the face of the company in the at least the Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati market.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that organization has always, again, my last 20 years, 26 years in total, but 20 years really understanding who KLH is and, learning about you all through your sponsorships and your partnerships with the Northern Kentucky Chamber and the things you do in the community, and then hearing about your employment brand story and the impact and your beautiful space and all of this about an organization who deeply cares about the people they employ while also deeply investing in the community.
Yeah, you nailed it. We have always been very focused on our employees. We're very generous with them. We're one of the few companies, we pay 100% of our employees' medical insurance, and their spouses and their children.
Oh my goodness.
And it doesn't cost them a dime.
If you just fell over and out of your chair, I apologize, because there's not many who do that.
Well, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce once told me, said, are you crazy? Like less than 1/10 of 1% of companies do that. Wow. But it's a great benefit. But it's about professional development, providing them the opportunity to be entrepreneurial. We have transitioned our company from strictly a mechanical electrical engineering company to one that's also a construction technology company.
Which is not easy to do.
No, it's not easy to do, especially in our industry, which is one of the last high-cost, low-productivity industries to be disrupted. And we're not sitting back and waiting to be disrupted. We're leading the disruption.
And with that transition, I don't want to just brush past it because that is such a major transition to do. Is that because you saw a need that was in the market and you could do it better? Or was it because that we don't see anything we see in the market that actually fits the need of what we want to do and how we want to do it and how we believe the client should experience software? And then you developed software and decided, gosh, we could sell this to every architecture and engineering firm in America.
Yeah. Interestingly, Mike, met with an architecture firm last week, and I asked them, what did they want to get out of our discussion? They wanted to hear what we were doing. And their comment was, well, I think most of our industry is sitting back waiting for somebody to offer some packaged solution for us to lean into AI and other software and workflow, innovation. And then you guys are on the other end of the spectrum saying, well, we're not going to wait. We're going to lead it.
Please, yeah.
And they were just trying to find where do they fit in between, right? Unfortunately, there's a lot of people who are on that far left spectrum, right? In our case, what we experienced was we witnessed how our industry, which is terribly enough, it's estimated that there's as much as 30% waste in the construction industry. So when you think about that, if you think that, okay, an owner client, maybe it's a school district, is paying 30% more than the value that they receive just because there's inherent waste in the process of building a building, of designing and building a building, that means that there's school buildings that aren't getting built because they don't have enough bonding capacity. Or maybe it's a social service agency that needs to build facilities for those who are underserved and they can't afford to.
Yeah.
So our industry, there's so much potential to improve our industry, not for our own benefit, but for the benefit of society, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why that was our motivation, was let's look at the value stream and see if we can't find a better way to work between all the stakeholders in a design and construction process and streamline that and drive out as much waste as we can control, because there's waste that we cannot control.
Sure.
I mean, it's just inherent.
Yeah.
But we feel like we've done that. We've pushed the envelope on that. There's still a long, long way to go, Mike. A long, long way to go.
And is that a separate entity today, or is it part of KLH?
Well, we have spun out a couple of different organizations. Okay. One of them that we're really proud of, we formed a group called DOMAIN, which is an acronym for Design, Manufacturing, and Install.
Okay.
And also it's a French word. It means the future.
Okay.
So kind of a cool name.
Yeah.
And it's an off-site industrialized construction company.
Okay.
So we're a third owner of it with a big mechanical contractor and a large electrical contractor. And so we're building assemblies and kits and so forth to help streamline the process of construction.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Most hiring processes are broken. You spend months searching, waste time on wrong fit candidates, and still end up uncertain if you made the right choice. Our 4C recruiting process has been refined over 50 years placing executives. We look at character, culture, chemistry, and competency. This systematic approach ensures we find leaders who don't just have the right skills, but who truly bring the right value to achieve your organization's vision and mission. Let's take the guesswork out of hiring. Visit centenniallink.com to learn how the 4C recruiting process can help you find your next great hire. So one of the things as I think about thumbprints on our community, I happened to be on the chamber board when you were chair. Yeah. And some of those discussions that we would consistently have, I think I was on your executive committee, where it's like, we need to create the power around one voice, right? I remember the branding exercise that led to the NKY that's now on many of the organizations that we have in our community that we've been involved with, that we've, you also have hit the trifecta. You've been the chair of the Northern Kentucky Chamber, BENKY, and the OneNKY Alliance. So I want to talk about that too, because I don't know if anyone else won the trifecta?
No, the OneNKY Alliance is such a new organization. I mean, we're only 7 years old. Yeah. So, there's been a few people, there were a couple of chairs ahead of me, and then I wound up serving 3 years as the chair.
Okay.
And so, that nobody had the experience of chairing the chamber and BNKY.
So bringing the vision together of all of the voices to create a voice that is one unison, right? It's all we talked about. It's like we need one voice, one NKY. It became in the brand. I love seeing the branding and the way that it's utilized in our community because it galvanizes and brings us close together, which I have to say is part of that vision that you helped set as that chair. What has that felt like? Why did you say yes to all of those things? Because it takes a whole year out of your life when you're chair, and maybe an extra year and a half when you're incoming chair and past chair. So what was it about those opportunities, all three of them, that you said yes to?
Well, it's interesting because most recently, I know we'll talk about this, I'm sure, about Launch NKY Center for Civic Leadership. As I've been recruiting, we've been pushing out the information about this new program. And there have been 15 people who have raised their hands and said, yeah, I want to be a part of this. But we want to get to 30. And I came to a realization the other day. I told Mary Beth, I said, when I think back, just about every opportunity that I took advantage of to be in a leadership position started with somebody putting their hand on my shoulder. What does that say, right? I mean, somebody believed in you. Somebody could see you there, even if you couldn't see yourself there.
Wow.
And to me, I think that's one of the most important roles that a leader has. I mean, it's a real responsibility for us to identify who those leaders of the future are,
whether they see it or not,
right?
Because we see it in them.
And most of the time they can't.
You can't.
They can't. And when it's somebody that you trust, I was at church last week and I ran into a guy, Jim Broering, who was the first parent at our school who put his hand on my shoulder and said, I think you need to coach this team that I've been coaching for the last 6 years. I want you to coach them from this point forward.
Wow.
And I wound up coaching for 25 plus years. And then it was somebody else who put their hand on my shoulder and said, hey, I think you need to be the basketball director at the school, and help the other coaches. And as I look back, it's like, okay, just about every time that I was asked to serve in a leadership role, it came with a hand on the shoulder, right?
Boy, that's a great visual.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure, I can feel it myself, even in your story where it wasn't until this moment when I did this and said, wow, I feel a calling to make this a part of who I am and what I do.
Right.
I had the exact same experience, and I've told it a couple times. It also has led me to doing 8 years of podcasting and really transforming all of my time and energy with public speaking and being on stage. And it was when my high school baseball coach called my office and asked me to speak at commencement at Holmes High School.
Yeah.
And my immediate first response was, why in the world would he have called me?
Yeah.
And then I literally told Chris Lewis, at the time was my assistant, just tell Dave I'll call him back, but I'm not interested. And then she pushed back and said, do you really want to do that? And that led me through this whole journey of why me? Well, I would have never seen myself doing that, but he did. And he knew me, and he's still to this day, we even attend the same church. I see him everywhere, and I still call him coach, and he still calls me Sipplewitz. And, and if it weren't for Dave, I don't know if I would be podcasting for 8 years and having, a lot of energy and excitement following this brand that we've built called Unconventional Leadership. I don't know if I would have started a new organization called Talent Magnet Institute. Yeah. And then you look, all these things, wow, the last 15 years have been impacted by that one thing that was asked of me, right? Yeah. So Dave put his hand on my shoulder and said, I believe in you. And honestly, it was one of the coolest experiences. My mom recorded it from the very top of Holmes gymnasium, which if anybody who's been there knows how big it is. So you can only imagine the quality of that video.
Right.
But anyway, I can completely see that. And being asked the question, I mean, I didn't volunteer at the Northern Kentucky Chamber until somebody who I met through Legacy, who was a part of this chamber community initiative, then reached out, and then I ended up on Ralph Dusing's campaign team for 5 years. And I feel like because of Ralph, I met everybody involved in the Northern Kentucky Chamber at that moment. So those times, those people we remember, and then it speaks into our heart to get going and start volunteering.
Yeah. Ralph was the guy who put his hand on my shoulder to get me involved in the chamber. Literally, I remember standing in the parking lot outside my office. He put his hand on my shoulder and said, "You really need to get involved in this."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
I wonder how many people can say that exact same thing.
Right.
From him or others. Like, oh, it was Mark who said that. It was, Mary Beth who said, who is the one? And those are parts of the legacy that we leave behind us. So the call to action is put your hand on somebody's shoulder and encourage them to do something that you see their potential that maybe they're not even thinking of at this point. Yeah. So as you chaired the chamber, then you chaired BNKY afterwards, right? What was the succession there or interest in going from one to the next after a whole year and a half of chairing?
Well, this is a story, and be careful what you ask for.
Okay.
Because I had served as an appointee of Judge Pendry on the Triad board, and in the last year that I was on that is when we hired an outside consultant to ask, are we positioned in relative terms to other economic development companies in the country? Okay. And the answer that came back was not really. Yeah. And so we decided to reorganize the company. There was some new leadership brought in, and part of that also was a decision that the chairmanship should be held by the private sector, not by one of the elected judges executive. And so, interestingly, in the whole course of all that, I had termed off. They invited me back to, give me a little thank you plaque, and I'm sitting in this board meeting after they gave me this plaque. And they said, you can stay if you want. Well, me being me, I'm like, sure, I'm staying. I want to hear what's going on. And at the end of it, under old business, I said, I just got to tell you all, the energy in this room is palpable. This board has a better feel than it ever did in the past. And quite frankly, I'm rather jealous of you all that you're going to be on this journey of this newly born company, moving our region forward from an economic development standpoint. Wish you all the luck, right? And then about 30 days later, Judge Nalkaman called me and said, hey, we need somebody from the private sector to chair this, the first private sector person to chair this, and we would love for you to come back and do it. How could I say no at that point? Because I basically had asked for it almost, without knowing it. Yeah. And so I gladly did it, was involved in hiring Lee Kroom, who's a rock star for us, for the organization. And of course, we rebranded it as BNKY Growth Partnership to reflect the partnership piece, which is that the private sector is driving that organization now. Right. It's not led. It feels less quasi-governmental than it's ever felt.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, I love hearing, we recently had Lee on, and I love hearing the stories that he tells of the experiences they're trying to create. And in subsequent conversations, these stories that he hears from organizations in our community. And the only way you hear those stories are to build trust with those private company leaders, to have them share what's really going on and what we're accomplishing in these businesses in our community. But as you look at, chamber leadership, critical board chair role, critical timing, driving this forward. I'm picking up a theme here. Then you load to BNKY, you help through the process of bringing in a new CEO. Were you also one of the founders of OneNKY Alliance?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, and the Alliance really was born out of a recognition that while our region had always done, every 10 years, did a vision plan, that vision plan was kind of laid at the feet of an individual to lead an organization. that really didn't have the resources to really move the needle.
Yeah.
I mean, quite frankly. And so it was, you looked at it in hindsight and you're like, well, why do we expect that to get done?
Right.
Right. Because we really didn't support the efforts. Now, organically, there's been a lot of things that were in those vision plans that did get done.
Yeah.
I mean, it really did. And then, there was an organization called the CEO Roundtable. There were about 10, I believe, in that group. And they looked at themselves and said, I think we need to restructure this.
Gotcha.
And so hence the restructuring of and the founding of what was at first called the Northern Kentucky Regional Alliance. And then we picked up on the name OneNKY Alliance. And so now we have 25 CEOs in that group. Very proud of the accomplishments of that organization. I mean,
that's incredible.
You think about it, the one voice thing. I mean, we didn't have a media company since the Kentucky Post closed. Well, we started a media company.
Right.
I still remember Lacey Starling being interviewed, and in the interview to be the CEO of Link.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember Bill Butler asking her what scares you about this, and she started laughing, and Bill was like taken aback, like, what's so darn funny? She's like, are you kidding me? Start a media company now? They're all closing, for goodness sake, right?
Are we sure you want to do this?
Am I sure
I want to do this?
Yeah, what could be more scary?
Yeah.
But it was such a cool moment.
Yeah.
Right? It was like, wow, we are daring to do this.
We are
right
doing
now.
this.
Yeah. Same thing with, OneNKY Frankfurt.
Yeah.
I mean, to have that facility, and that's a game changer. And that's not coming from me. That's coming from people inside the cabinet.
Right.
Downstairs, inside the administration.
Explain what that is.
Well, OneNKY is a building at 418 Capitol Avenue, literally 2 blocks from the Capitol building on the boulevard going to the Capitol. So every day that a legislator or the governor or people in state government drive to work, they pass the OneNKY Frankfurt building. And it's a statement. It says, hey, Northern Kentucky is a region that's a force to be reckoned with.
Yes, it is. And it does matter. And people do drive by that, and it triggers a thought, oh, I got to call someone up there. Oh, I got to go visit someone. Oh, I need to say yes to the thing I'm being asked to do in the region of the state that needs to be more than represented because of our size and strength. Yeah.
I still remember on Inauguration Day during the parade, we were standing out in front of that building, and I remember Senate President Stivers looked over and it was like, who are those guys? Right? Yeah. I mean, but we've had people within the administration say, guys, this is a game changer for Northern Kentucky to have this presence. It really is.
Absolutely. So, and it's the OneNKY Center.
It's OneNKY Frankfurt.
OneNKY Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sharing that because those listening may go, I didn't know that existed.
Yeah.
And tell me more about that. And they may want to do some research on it.
Well, there's sponsor companies. There's companies that sponsor the operation of it. And those companies have the right to use the building for meetings with legislators or people in the administration. Yeah. All of the organizations, whether it's the Chamber, BNKY, the Alliance, Meet NKY, but they're all sponsors.
Yeah.
And so they host legislative receptions there. And during session,
it's busy.
Darn near, at least once a week, there's a reception hosting legislators there.
That's great.
Right.
That's great. Educate NKY is something else that birthed out of OneNKY Alliance as well.
Yeah. So, the cornerstone of any great society is
education in our future.
Yeah. First of all, it's got to be, you can't have lawlessness and chaos. So that has to happen. But one of the other cornerstones of a great society is education. And so knowing that would be a pillar, we, as an organization, the Alliance, we said, well, let's figure out what are we going to do in this space. And from that was born an assessment, a landscape assessment of education in Northern Kentucky. And out of that came, okay, we can't try to change everything. So let's try to find one data set that's more homogenous, if you will.
Yeah.
And that data set was the 6 River City Schools districts. So Bellevue, Dayton, Newport, Southgate, because it's contiguous, Covington, and Ludlow. And so we picked that and we said, listen, and again, because the Alliance doesn't do programming, we spun that out as a separate organization. hired our consultant, Shai Calvo, to lead the organization.
Who said this research moved me so much I want to be in if you guys move forward.
That's exactly the
and
story.
Moved his whole family here because of it.
Yeah, he closed his consulting business and said, "This is such meaning. This has such great upside potential."
Yeah.
And our chair, Greg Fisher, has been very clear. Yeah. Our goal is to transform this in such a meaningful way that it becomes a model for the rest of the Commonwealth and the nation. So we're just getting started, but there's people committed who are saying we're not stopping for anything.
Yeah.
We're going.
And I've heard Shai say there was something in the eyes and the energy of the individuals I was reporting back to that was like, holy smokes, these guys, these people are actually going to do this, and I want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we've had Tim Hanner, who was the interim early CEO on the podcast multiple times.
Yeah.
And all of these key leaders that are just like, I'm in. You need me to serve in some interim role, I'm there because this is the most important thing. Horizon Community Foundation. Did that come out of OneNKY?
No,
or was that
was a separate effort. Headed up by a couple other individuals, some members who are members of the Alliance.
Yeah.
But it did
I know
not
there's
come
overlap with boards because of the commitment.
It did not
these
come
leaders.
out of that. But, the OneNKY Center in Covington, right? We now have a building. This, by the way, that concept of a multi-association building was in every visioning plan since 1981.
Yeah, I remember
1981.
I think what was the book that Bill wrote back in the 70s? I think it was in there.
It was. And you think back, well, the reason why it didn't happen was because who would have done it?
Yeah.
I mean,
and there were fiefdoms and silos.
Who could have done it?
Yeah.
And until you put 25 CEOs in a room and say this is important, how do we find a way to make it happen? Mm-hmm. And then you put two talented women in the persons of Jean Schroer and Karen Finan spearheading it and trying to find a way with their expertise in real estate. They found a way, and now it's a dream come true. It's a reality now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you walk into that building, there's energy. There's absolute energy.
Yeah,
right?
And you bump into people that have energy.
Yeah.
Your high potential leaders and executives need more. They need someone who will come alongside of them to help them unlock what is holding them back and reach their fullest potential. Our executive coaching matches your leaders with the right coach through our proprietary coach matching process. We focus on real growth with clear goals, frequent check-ins, and measurable results that you see and experience. Whether it's a 6-month engagement or ongoing support, we help your leaders become the executives that they desire and that your organization needs. Visit talentmagnet.com to start the conversation today. Catalytic Fund is another organization that's key to all of this ecosystem.
Yeah.
Have you been involved there?
I have not been involved in the Catalytic Fund other than talking to them a little bit about their new housing fund.
Okay.
I've had some conversations with Gene and Mayor Washington and Covington about some housing initiatives.
Awesome.
But I think their Catalytic Fund is so critical to our region.
Absolutely.
And the revitalization of it.
So the idea that's now Launch NKY, the Center for Civic Leadership, where did that come from? What's the origin story of that?
Yeah.
How long ago did you guys start dreaming this up and talking about it?
Yeah. Actually, it was one of the very first topics for discussion when the alliance was formed, the OneNKY Alliance was formed. And that topic was, okay, let's just take a look around this room now and let's figure out how do we identify, educate, cultivate, lean into the next generation of leaders. Quite frankly, it's one of the reasons why I got involved in regional leadership in Northern Kentucky, because at the time I was looking at some of the leaders who were, the icons of Northern Kentucky, and I'm thinking, wow, there's a pretty big age gap between them and me. and who are those people who are going to serve in that role, and
who's going to be serving in 20 years.
So I was like, okay, I guess that could be me.
That's
right.
me.
I always try to teach my kids and my employees, if not you, then who? If not now, then when?
Yeah.
And so living by that motto, how could I not answer the call?
Yeah.
But right out of the gate, we said we need to do this, recognizing that the Alliance never does anything programmatically.
Okay.
Right. We will spin out an organization. We'll provide influence, social capital.
Yeah.
We'll provide financial support of it. Well, I should say our member companies provides financial capital for it. And so for the better part of 7 years, we were just trying to figure out how do we do this. And Brent Cooper at the Chamber and Katie Shore-Thompson were both talking about how can they play a role in this. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that the Alliance did start to do was the identification of basically the cultivation of the list of future leaders.
Okay.
And so we started to cultivate a list of identified leaders. And from that, then the Chamber and NKU said, "Okay, we'll do the programmatic piece." And as luck would have it, I guess I was President Shore-Thompson was going to present to our board, and ahead of that, as I often do, if somebody's going to present to our board, I like to try to learn about it, so I might have to socialize it with the board, for example.
Okay.
So I was meeting with her in her office, and she was explaining the program, and then she said, "And we need an executive leadership, executive director, and your name keeps coming up in conversations both inside the university and outside." And my response was, "Oh, that's intriguing," right? And I left the first meeting intrigued, and the second meeting interested, and the third meeting committed.
Wow.
To do it. And I look at it, Mike, this is, in my opinion, this is like the capstone to my civic engagement career. I mean, what better thing to do as I'm, getting older. I will never retire. Actually, I'll share something with you in a minute. But what better way than to late in my career to lead a program that helps to build the next generation of leaders, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
and what kind of leaders? What's the content about? What's the hope of where these people land and what type of roles, et cetera?
Yeah. So to be clear, this is a natural progression from the leadership programs that exist at the Chamber now. Okay. So, you have regional youth leadership, and then you have leadership Northern Kentucky, just like leadership Cincinnati or even leadership Kentucky. Those are awareness programs. So, you have a day where you learn about economic development.
Exposure.
You have a day to learn about healthcare, a day about arts and culture, a day about workforce. So it makes you aware of the issues and opportunities in your community. To be clear, this is leadership development. Okay. This will be taught by NKU faculty as well as myself. I should say facilitated by me. Okay. But taught, and so there's three pillars. The first is really about leadership education. What is authentic leadership? What's ethical leadership? How do you identify? We'll do some assessments to help people identify their style of leadership. How do you learn? How do you collaborate with people with different leadership styles, right? The middle pillar is really about educating people about the structures of governance in Northern Kentucky, about board structures. Really, the goal is to identify those leaders who will sit in the boardrooms that you and I sit in, who will serve on commissions, planning commissions, and the water district board directors, et cetera. And then also run for elected office. We don't want to forget that because that's an important component of this too. So the middle pillar is about educating them on, what's your fiduciary responsibility as a board member? What's your legal responsibilities? What are your legal risks as a board member? Right. What are the rules of engagement? Like, what's ex parte communication that you got to be careful not to do that. Right. There's like 2,000 board seats in Northern Kentucky. It's like there's lots of room to serve.
Sure.
If you're serving on a board, how do you how do you help the organization that you're serving? You're on their board. What's responsible budget management, for example, right? And then the last piece is about the social capital. How do we help them build social capital with current leaders, current leaders of organizations that they may serve with?
Okay.
How do we help them find their passion of where they might serve? The goal of this, Mike, I've been very clear. We want 100% placement by the time we hand them a certificate at the end of this.
Wow.
They've made the commitment to serve on a board, a commission, or file for public office.
Yeah.
And so that's the goal of the program.
How long is the program? Has that been established?
It's a year long. We'll start the cohort. We're looking to seat 30, and the program will start in the first week of March, and it'll run for one year. It's you give up the participants will give up 1 day a month.
Okay.
There'll be required reading and discussion board, stuff.
Yeah.
Lots of social engagements, which I'm good at.
Yeah.
Bringing leaders in and
That's a big part of it.
Creating the social environment for them to get to know other leaders in the region, both their peers, but those that are ahead of them in the serving the community already.
And part of these alumni associations, having gone through Leadership Northern Kentucky, Leadership Cincinnati, the awareness you come out of there going, I want to learn more about that, right?
Yeah.
And there isn't always a place to go do that, because sometimes, depending on where you are in your own career, you either get really excited about it and then it falls off the list because you got work coming at you or family coming at you, or you just don't know the next place to start because maybe that really interested you, but you don't know who to reach out to. So this would be a stepping off point to say, you know what, I want to get involved. I want to run for public office. I need to go to Launch NKY to learn how to do that.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. And it'll be an annual program. It'll run every March to March.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent.
And at some point, we'll look at expanding it and maybe run 2 cohorts concurrently, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited about it.
Where are you in the, are you still working through is the content all locked in? Are you now ready for March and you're just trying to fill those extra 15 seats?
The development of the program is ongoing with the faculty, but I got to tell you, I couldn't be happier with the faculty that have stepped up to be a part of this. So we're building out the curriculum, the 4 of us at this moment, and then the recruiting. We're about halfway to our target of 30. I think we're going to get quite a few commitments here before the end of the year.
Yeah, and as listeners listen to this episode, they'll hear this conversation.
Yeah.
In a few weeks, they'll hear it in a few months, they'll hear it even in a few years. So the call will be to go check out what Launch NKY is doing, sign up for an upcoming event, attend, reach out to ask more questions about where you or someone on your team you can be that person who puts the hand on someone else's shoulder to say, I think you should do this program. Because the exposure you're going to get, the confidence you're going to gain is something I see the potential in you to go be one of those leaders in our community.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I encourage anybody who's in a leadership role within their company to just look down the roster and say, who is that next person who's going to serve in our community from our company? Yeah. Because we all have that responsibility.
Absolutely.
We own businesses in this region. The economic vitality of this region supports our businesses. It just makes good business sense.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's this. All of these community organizations are all partners. That's part of why bringing them all together in one central location, because those water cooler talks, walking across from someone, brushing a shoulder. Hey, there's something I got to mention to you that this person and this person, we were talking. Have they got to you yet? Have they created that? That is absolutely happening. Every time I'm there, I see 17 of my favorite people were there, who are all leading the way.
Absolutely.
What are you most excited about for the future of our region? I'll ask that first.
Yeah. Wow. What BNKY has become is really awesome. I mean, to be a data-driven organization that we can put up against, any other economic development company in the country is awesome. I'd love to see our state economic development cabinet go through a similar revitalization. the fact that all of these organizations are sitting in one building now, I mean, I hear it. I see it. I mean, because I'm in the chamber office all the time. I'm in the Alliance office all the time. I'm in Educate NKY's office. They're all in that building, right? And I see it. It's the fact that we are going out with a regional narrative brand soon with Meet NKY. I think the OneNKY lexicon is starting to catch on. And I think when our broader citizenry start to adopt that mindset that yes, I live in Cold Spring, but I'm part of OneNKY. Yes, I live in Union, but I'm part of OneNKY. Yeah. I think that will be exciting when we all start to use that lexicon and feel it. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's been this vision. Yeah. And we're doing it. The momentum is forever in our favor at this point.
Right.
And we have great leaders in the right positions, but also we've broken down silos. We've gotten rid of egos, and we're focused on the cause, the actual mission of what we're trying to accomplish. Right. We've had so many of those leaders with us for various episodes, and the energy, the excitement, the passion, and the commitment of what people are doing, it just resonates, right? It's no doubt that a lot of these, Tim Hanner is one of my best mentors, one of my best friends, and to see yourself and him and Brent Cooper and all, just continue to just put your Karen Finan, putting everything she has in it, Gene Schwarr, Nancy Grayson, all of my favorite people, and seeing them nominate others too, right? There's all types of generations coming along with, because they're asking for those leaders' names. And I would argue that if anybody's listening and you're like, there is a leader on my team who said at some point she would like to run for some public office. This is something you can say, you should check out what Bob Heil's doing at Launch NKY.
Right.
And any of the organizations that are not tuned in with this, we gave you lots of organizations' names to research and to start leaning in and start attending things to understand what's really going on in our community. Yeah. Bob, have you seen any other communities do what we're doing in OneNKY?
I think we're unique. Yeah. I mean, let's face it, we're 34 or 36 cities in 3 counties. I mean, we're so unique in that regard. Most counties are, a few cities, a handful of cities, right? And so, what we're doing is really born out of the history that created this situation, right?
Mm-hmm. And it is a situation.
It is. It's a situation. Yeah. And
all these little fiefdoms.
Right.
Yeah.
But if we can adopt a mindset, would it be great if we shrunk 34 cities down to 10? Sure, it would. But will it happen in our lifetimes? I don't know. I doubt it. Yeah. And I don't know that it doesn't have to stand in our way.
Right. Exactly.
Unless we want it to, unless we allow it to. Yeah. Right. We can work around it and make stuff happen.
Yeah. And I think that's happening. I think there's also initiatives like Cincy Tucky that I'm behind and I'm really excited about, that it is borderless. It is all about actually celebrating everything that all of greater Cincinnati brings and all of Northern Kentucky brings, and brings spotlight to this region that makes us go, wow, this is really an interesting topography. Right. And look at how the cities work together, and look at so you mean to tell me that every city's working together to make these access points actually work? Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. We're working really hard at it. And organizations like Cincinnati Off-Road Alliance has been at this for years. Right. And I think they would argue that, 1, they've never given up, and 2, there's something different right now with all of these leaders in place.
That's right.
And all of the boards and all of the people on those boards that are making it happen are like, well, we should all be in the room making this happen together, which is just a unique experience. Yeah. It's the definition of leadership, right? That, again, sitting in the rooms years ago of we should have a brand that talks about it really was words about one voice, one Northern Kentucky. Yeah. And it took a little while for designers and the people in the room to go, what about OneNKY? And what about leveraging the NKY across all of the assets, right? To bring that together. So thank you also to the designers who listened in those rooms of people who both had passion and argument to actually come up with something that we can all move on with and make happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It speaks to unity. You know, we talked about this when we developed the OneNKY name. It was if it was the number one in front of NKY, it's an integer. It's defining. Right. It's like, okay, it stands for something numerical. It's almost sounds boastful to say that we're number one kind of thing. But when we talked about this at the Alliance about adopting OneNKY, it was all about one. ONE speaks to unity. Yeah. And that's how we adopted it. Yeah.
As you go through the process of leadership isn't easy.
No.
And not everybody's aligned from the beginning, right? What have you learned about listening to differing views and perspectives, and then to help figure out how to get us to move forward with one voice and to create unity? What is it about your leadership style? What do you cue into? And how do you do that?
Well, my colleagues at the Alliance and at Educate NKY or at BNKY, they all know that I am a huge fan of the concept of creative tension. And so I actually brought my prop with me today. Let me find it here if it's in my pocket. Yeah, this is my prop. So I use this rubber band. When you look at a community or a company, organization, whatever it is, and you create a vision, it creates a tension, does it not? Mm-hmm. That tension is the call to action. Now, what's also very important in the concept of creative tension is you have to have a brutally honest assessment of your current reality, because we'd all like to think that we start here, but if we're really brutally honest with ourselves, we probably start down here, right? This tension, unfortunately, in most communities gets resolved this way because it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of social capital. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of collaboration to make it happen. Same thing happens in businesses too. Yeah. I mean, you compromise your vision because you don't want to do the hard work. And so I use this, and again, brutally honest assessment of where you are to start. This is the call to action. How are we going to resolve this, right? Yeah. That's the call to action, in my opinion. And if you can get people to be honest about that, if you can be so bold as to create a compelling vision. So when I look at my leadership style, it's try to create a compelling vision of what could be. Yeah. And I say that because, it's Lee Kroom said this in his Leadership Kentucky class, and I just love this. If we would all just ask ourselves this, when does it become not okay that we are, like in the Commonwealth, that we are in the bottom 10% in education? When does it become not okay that we have 700 kids in our school districts in Northern Kentucky who really don't have a permanent home? When does it become not okay that our population health is as bad as it is, right? When does it become not okay, right? Fill in the ... Right. And if we could just all adopt that, I mean, suddenly you've got to feel that tension. Yeah. You've got to feel like, wow, when does it become not okay that some kid is not able to reach their full potential, right? When does it become not okay? Fernando Figueroa and I, we meet religiously every month, and we talk about, what could Northern Kentucky be? Yeah. I think if we could write a manifesto, it would say the goal is for there to be social economic mobility for every person in Northern Kentucky. And until that's done, then we don't stop. We don't stop working. Yeah. We just keep at it until our last breath.
How do you keep the energy for people not to come down to what's mediocre? How do you keep it up here where you're pulling that top tension, because we know that that's where we have to go, but you could sit there for a long time. It can be very wearing and taxing on someone.
But the work to get there is energizing.
Okay.
That's why it's not exhausting. It's not exhausting at all. I have people say, what are you going to do in retirement? I'm like, well, I'm never going to retire because I love doing what I do. I've actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to share this with you. I carry this on my phone at all times. This is something that I picked up from George Bernard Shaw, right? Just a great quote.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I've shared this with other leaders, and they say, "God, I've never." That defines me too.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is a quote, George Bernard Shaw. "This is the true joy in life, being used for a purpose, recognized by yourself as a mighty one. Being a force of nature instead of a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making me happy. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community. And as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it what I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die. For the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle to me. It is a sort of splendid torch which I have got hold of for the moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations."
Wow.
I mean, imagine if every leader believed in their heart and soul in that.
Yeah.
Where we could go as a community.
It's a powerful manifesto.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. I lean on that all the time.
Yeah.
But the work that I do in the community just gives me the energy that sustains me to go forward every single day.
I have to feel like anytime you're bringing people together to say, are you called to this? This is the kind of leaders we're hoping to stir up your hearts and minds.
Yeah.
I know there's so many of us in this region and in the world who that's why we do what we do, right? I'm not doing this to create one more episode. I'm doing this so people hear little perspectives of life and go, you know what? I connect with that. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm not the only one trying to do this on my own, and I'm doing it for a greater purpose. And it resonates, just that topic alone that you just shared resonates. And I hope it resonates with all of our listeners.
Yeah.
And I hope it resonates with people who aren't joining us yet, who are going to lean in because of this great episode that we had. And
Mike, I got to tell you that we're not alone. I mean, we're not alone in believing in that.
Yes.
There are so many leaders. You look ahead of us. Yeah. There are people that are older than us that are still going strong, still leading our community. And while they may never have seen those words or voiced those words, they believe in it.
Yeah.
They believe in their hearts because they're still going at it without any hesitation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we're fortunate to have them and to learn from them and have them by our side as we continue to advance our region, advance our companies, advance our families. It's inspiring.
When someone asks me what's unique about this region, I often use the word access. It's accessible and there's access. Yeah. So you can just knock on the door of a leader who's accomplished greatness in life and say, I would love to learn from you. I would love to understand what you're doing. I read this article. I heard this episode. I'd like to learn more about you. And here are some goals I have, and what would you speak into them? It feels like every time I've ever done that, someone has said, I'd be honored to sit down with you. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, there will be no shortage, of mentors for this launch program.
That's right.
I've already had leaders say, I'm here for you. Let me know. And the folks who have already raised their hand and said, I want to be a participant, they're excited about that access that you mentioned. They're excited to have access to some of the best leaders in this region.
Did you ever paint your own vision 20 years ago about what you hope your next 20 years of civic leadership would, the impact it have on our community?
I can't say I was that purposeful about it, Mike. I know what I'd like this community to be.
Yeah.
I may not always articulate it, but I carry it in my heart. I tell people all the time, my family's the greatest testimonial to the quality of life in Northern Kentucky. I have 6 brothers, 6 sisters, 13 of us. We grew up poor in South Newport, learned a great work ethic. 8 of us moved out of the state at some point in our professional lives, myself included, for a few years. We've all moved back.
Wow.
8 of us, not the same 8, but 8 of us have been business owners. Collectively, we've probably owned close to 30 companies. We've got some nieces and nephews now that are entrepreneurs, my son included. We all live in Northern Kentucky.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. It's so cool to have everybody right here. The value of living in this region, the affordability of it, just the quality of the people, the quality of the space.
Yeah.
There's so many positives to living in this region.
Yeah.
Having a major metropolitan city across the river from you. I mean, it's just, there's so many assets that we have here.
It's accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So Bob, one of the questions I ask everyone as we wrap up is how do you define unconventional leadership?
I think that being unconventional is being able to look at the current paradigms and say they don't serve us well, right? And having the courage to say that those things that are easy, the paradigms that are easy, the ones that we were so used to, they just don't serve us as well as they used to in so many regards, in so many different industries, so many different situations, so many different community issues. I'd love to take a blank slate and use design thinking to create systems. That's the engineer in me coming out. But I think
I was first introduced to design thinking. You led a session at New Riff years ago, and you just brought friends in to listen to one of those experts.
Yeah. So I think if we design systems, we can take the emotion out of decision making. I'm hoping that as we move forward, we can get other leaders to embrace this concept of design thinking. How do we design government? How do we design education? How do we design healthcare? And in mapping out a system that works, we'll be able to identify the assets that we currently have that fit in that system. Maybe jettison some of those that don't fit into the system. We certainly will learn where the lever points are to affect change in this current systems by doing it. But I think we need to be more analytical about because like in our work in education, oh my gosh, Mike, there's no doubt that like every person who works in education is committed to the right things.
Right.
It's just that the system isn't designed the way that best for success in all cases. Right.
Yep.
Some cases it is, and other cases it's not. So let's place good people in better systems, and I think we'll get better outcomes.
Wow. So we've got one more thing we want to discuss with our audience before we depart. And I thank you for bringing this up. So I'm going to turn the mic back over to you, Bob.
Yeah. So when people ask me, so how do I get involved? Why did you get involved? Right? I ask myself that question. If not you, then who? If not now, then when? But it's interesting, Mike. And in the last week, I witnessed a situation, 3 different situations where it was like the classic example of the story of those 4 people. The story of 4 people named everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. So there was an important job to be done, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have. Powerful story.
Incredibly powerful.
Yeah. And I think, and that speaks to the missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The missed opportunity, the kid that's underserved, the family that's underserved, the vision that never gets realized, that creative tension again, that vision that didn't get realized because everybody was looking for somebody else to do it. Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We say often at Talent Magnet and Centennial that do not wait for the leader you hope shows up tomorrow.
Right.
Be that leader today.
Yes.
And take action.
Yeah.
Because that other person, that somebody may never show up.
That's right.
Right? But you have the opportunity, as hard as sometimes it can feel and be, to be the leader that you desire to lead.
Yeah.
And on that end, thank you for being that kind of leader, Bob.